Commercial break. Everything working today, Lynn? Okay, Mark.
Yep, we're good.
Good evening. Can we all please stand for the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's town board meeting. It is June 9th, 2026. First item on the agenda is public hearing. I would ask our town clerk to read the notice.
Notice of public hearing by the Town Board of the Town of Mount Pleasant to consider a proposed local law amending Town Code Chapter 14, Boards and Councils, Article 1, Advisory Board on Architectural and Community Appearance. Please take notice that a public hearing will be held before the Town Board of the Town of Mount Pleasant, Town Hall, 1 Town Hall Plaza, Valhalla, New York, on the 9th day of June 2026 at 7:00 p.m. for the purpose of considering a local law adopting an amendment to Town Code Chapter 14, Advisory Board on Architecture and Community Appearance. Please take further notice a copy of the proposed local law is available for review in the town clerk's office. Please take further notice that at the public hearing upon said proposed local law, an opportunity to be heard in regards thereto will then and there be given to those favoring passage of such proposed amendment and also those opposed thereto.
Thank you. Public hearing is open. Anyone wish to make a comment in regards to this is welcome to do so at this time.
Good evening, everybody. Carlo Valente, Hawthorne. Wrote a statement on this. I support the change to the town code, although I have a significant concern to the proposed language. Currently, the town board does not approve site plans. That authority rests with the planning board. When a site plan, including elevations, landscaping, materials, etc., has been approved by the planning board after the ABA-CA review, any material changes to those approved elements should logically return to the planning board for amendment, not the town board. The proposed text states, shall be deemed part of any site plan approval unless the planning board specifically amends such report. Appropriate, however, the language appears to root changes on the planning board, seems to root changes on building permit projects to the town board. This creates unnecessary confusion and potential inconsistency to true site plan projects. It would be clearer and more consistent with existing law and practice if the code explicitly states any material changed to a planning board approved site plan, including ABA-CA reviewed design elements, must be referred back to the planning board for review and approval after ABA-CA re-review if appropriate. This maintains proper jurisdiction lines. The body that granted the original approval should be the one that decides the amendments. Routing site plan changes to the town board would undermine the planning board's role and add unnecessary layer of review to a body that does not normally handle site plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Town Board, Dennis McCarthy, Hawthorne. I agree with the chief's comments here regarding the process. I have served both on the planning board, as Tom Saliano has, and the town board between 2013 and 17 on the town board, and before that 5 years on the planning board. And to have this process come to the town board creates, basically delineates the planning board process. Very concerned because issues were brought up before about 500 Commerce Street. There's an application before the planning board right now with the golf course that says it wants to refer certain zone changes to the building inspector. The building inspector shouldn't be amending code. The building inspector should be enforcing code. And even though the building inspector is going to refer you to code, you shouldn't be changing the planning board process. In fact, Supervisor Fulgenzi, just recently you were interviewed by the examiner, and this was a question that was proposed to you about some of the planning, and you explicitly stated that it's a separate process, that things go to the planning board and zoning board. So I would highly, highly recommend that the planning board, you know, rest on this, because I looked into other towns and this doesn't exist like this. When I served in the town board, there were unfortunate applicants or landowners that did things to property and we had to approve them. I wasn't crazy about that, but that's my concern, that more of these things will happen. And it's not fair that these things will go through that process, because to me, the process is really the most important thing, you know, and I would just recommend that you guys pump the brakes on this, reevaluate it, because I don't think it's a good thing for the town, and I know you want what's best for the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Russell from Hawthorne. I didn't notice in the documentation online when this would take effect. Is it 30 days from now? Today? Does it include the application of the Jewish Board of Family and Children's Services? If it does, to use that as an example, how does this fit in with the secret process? When will this referral to the Architectural Review Board take place? Would it go on contemporaneously with the secret process? Would it be at the end? So I'd like to have a little more information, maybe even included in this text that will become town law. Maybe Mr. Feldman could illumine me a bit on how this works in with the secret process.
I think you could review the proposed legislation and seek guidance there. I mean, it does provide that, you know, they'll be providing the planning board and or the building inspector with a report within 60 days of the applicant's final presentation of the project. You know, I think it outlines that procedure, but
The existing law seems to require Architectural Review Board review as well. So, and in this particular case, an important case, especially to people who live in the area of the Jewish Board property, it would seem that this would be going on at the present time. So I guess the other question is it effective now if the town board votes this evening in favor of this?
I mean, they can vote now, they can vote to have it phased in 30 days.
I think it's on the schedule for this evening, isn't it? The vote on this?
It's up for a vote, yes.
Oh, yeah. So assuming that it is passed, usually items of changing to laws will have an effective date included. So I'd like to know that.
Did you, are you aware of an effective date, or is
The
it
town
generally
board
once
can
it's?
set one if you like, when you adopt it, if you choose to adopt it this evening.
We could keep a note of that, maybe we'll,
I think it's something good. The
it
existing
doesn't
law.
affect anything if it's 30 days from now or 60 days from now, but that's not an issue.
Right.
I think typically the code changes take effect the night the vote is approved. So
Generally, yeah.
if we approve it tonight, then it will take effect immediately. If we don't, then it would not take effect. I think that's the answer you're looking for.
And is an architectural review board, a review happening now, do you know, of the Jewish Board application?
That is exempt from the Architectural Review Board currently because it is not a commercial structure. Residential is not in their purview.
Well, I would like to see that included. And
Yeah,
if this
we've
law-
discussed around that. That's something up for discussion. But as far as any residential properties and changes there too are not in the purview of the ARB. Planning board only.
I see,
It just, architectural review board is strictly commercial.
Yeah.
right.
I actually think it should be when it's subdivisions,
Yes,
because
because you could have
I'd
these-
like to have an ARB opine on street lamps and all kinds of things,
Right.
trees, you know, so that, like I said, we have been discussing that. Some towns do that, but currently, it's only commercial signage and storefront facades, et cetera.
I don't think the zoning recommendations in the comprehensive plan for single-family homes might not apply to the homes that are being built in that area. I guess in other parts of the zoning code, there are indications as to the maximum coverage of the lot. I'm concerned because I don't want to see huge McMansions, like let's say maybe on Patrick Lane, there are some small lots, but have huge homes, and that would disrupt the community character. So I'd ask that the board look into including a review of the architectural board of that property.
Noted, I appreciate that.
I think that, my understanding is the reason this all came up is Architecture Review Board will make some recommendations on something. And the building gets built, and there were changes made during the construction that the Architecture Review Board was not aware of. And I think they felt that they have really no say in what was going on. So we thought that to be able to come back and review it again would be helpful, to give them some more validity to what they're trying to do. They're trying to do the right thing, and then some things get changed along the process, which may not be the right thing to do. So if they don't follow what the recommendations are, it should go back to somebody and review it again to make sure they are following. My opinion, of course.
Good evening, Town Board. My name is Lou Amendola. I'm from 6 Brook Drive in Valhalla. Here tonight to thank Mr. Joe Bonanno and Emily Costanza on the professionalism and courage and courtesy that they gave us in working with the Stonegate Park. I'd like to thank the rest who I spoke to. I don't remember their names, but I just remember these two names here. They were very thorough, very professional, and very caring on helping us to try and save the park up there and getting everybody's vote and trying to see what we can do and how we can do it to save it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought this was,
Just as a reminder,
That's a
this
hearing.
public hearing is about the amending the Chapter 14 of the Architecture Review Board.
No.
not yet.
We have business
Yeah,
from the
it's-
floor coming up, where you're welcome to address the board on any topic. Any other comments or questions regarding Chapter 14?
Discuss this more.
Is there-
Yeah, I think we should
Yeah.
table this and
Yeah,
discuss it further.
exactly.
Yeah,
So are we keeping
Agreed.
the hearing open, or are we tabling it? Or are we closing
we'll
it?
keep
Keep it open.
Keep it
keep
open.
this open.
So you need a motion to keep the public
Yeah.
hearing open?
Yeah,
Yeah, we feel that we have to discuss this more. There's some really good input. Thanks for coming out and communicating with us, and you have some good ideas, and we need to brainstorm a little bit in the boardroom and come back to you. So I move to keep the public hearing open, please.
motion by Tom,
Second?
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So on the Resolution 21126, did we just table that or do nothing?
Or you could table it, it's up to you. You can table it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So authorization to amend Chapter 14, we're going to table that.
Yes.
Okay.
So Danielle
Sure.
Danielle? And Tom? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, call for a public hearing to amend Town Code, Chapter 180, 181 to 180-5A steep slope protection. You have a date
June 23rd.
scheduled for June 23rd. And that information will be in your office. Resolution 21226 will be a public hearing for June 23rd on steep slope protection.
I'll move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
I second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, call for a public hearing to amend Chapter 111 of the Town Code, freshwater wetlands.
I move for
June
approval.
23rd? June 23rd, yeah.
I move for approval on this. Or move
Motion
for a
by
call.
Joe,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, authorization to enter into a license agreement with Westwood Swim and Tennis Association for the use of their parking lot.
I move for approval on this.
I just wanted to, year after year, we've had an agreement with Westwood Swim to use a section of their parking lot for the Highway Department employee parking. We had to clarify some things in the agreement, and we're all in agreement now that it's came up with a price that's satisfies everyone for 2026. So I need a motion to sign this agreement.
Make a motion to approve this agreement.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, authorization to publish a request for proposals for revocable license agreement for outdoor contractor / equipment storage yard located at 15 West Stevens Avenue. This is a piece of property that's an unused piece of property owned by the town of Mount Pleasant on 15 West Stevens Avenue. This is basically across from the Gate of Heaven Cemetery entrance, just up the hill a little bit. A vacant piece of land that we will watch very carefully if it's approved. What would go in there basically is not for storage of materials or anything like that. It's more contractor equipment.
Lenny. I think Lenny's the one who's next.
I thought there was an objection. Okay, Mark, this was a good idea of yours. I give you credit for pushing this.
Thanks.
Make sure we move forward with this.
Thanks for indulging it. I think
Get
it's a
that,
great idea.
Mark, for your research.
Would you like to make the motion, Mark?
Yes, I make a motion.
Motion by Mark,
I'll second.
second by Joe. All in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization for street closing permits. First one is for Holly Bruni. Authorization is requested to close Marietta Avenue from Pearl Street to Lexington Avenue on July 25th from 11:30 to 11 p.m. A rain date of July 26, 2026 for the same time is requested. Next one is Massimo Cardelli. Authorization to request to close Willis Avenue from Frankfurt Street to Main Street on Saturday, August 8th, from 12 to 10 p.m. No rain date. Next one, Megan Dougherty. Authorization is requested to close Clinton Street from Columbus Avenue to Waverly Place, Saturday, August 29th, from 12 to 11 p.m. Rain date, Sunday, August 30th, from 12 to 9:30 p.m.
I'll move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second?
Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to commence a lawsuit against Casa Verde Corporation doing business as Amodio's Garden Center for illegal dumping on Clayburgh Lane.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The investment report, current rate of interest is 3%. At this time, we have business from the floor. Anyone who would like to address the board is welcome to do so at this time.
Aye.
Hi, Bevan Murphy, 483 Clayburgh Lane. I just wanted to see if there's an update and by-when plan yet to have this all wrapped up. It's still the beginning of June, so June 3rd, June 6th, and then today, June 9th. There've been fire trucks up there every 3 days. Please, can this just be done? Like,
The highway department was up there to shrink the piles of mulch that are there to make sure that there's no more smoldering. They believe that by shrinking the piles down, there will be no more, we hope there'll be no more smoldering of that material.
When was
So
that?
Our highway department
Today.
was up there
Okay.
doing that.
Okay.
And we saw pictures of it today. It did a nice job straightening it all out and organizing those mulch piles until we get rid of them.
Thank you.
As far as there was a number of questions that were submitted. I think Deborah had submitted questions. I just got those back today. I was out last week, but there were some modifications to some of the questions and answers. And I should be able to get that out tomorrow to everyone.
You're
That's
going to
it.
email us with some updates?
Yep.
Amazing. If you have it available, would you be willing to share it with us now?
I don't have, I just got it today from Darius, the town attorney.
Uh-huh.
And there's some cross-outs and red lines, so I want it clearly written so that everybody can read it properly and understand it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Patty Rallis, 491 Old Chappaqua Road. I have a couple questions. I often smell the smoke. I called at 10:20 on Wednesday. I had been smelling it all morning. It smelled actually like a nice barbecue. And then I thought, oh wait, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. And so I did my due diligence and I called the non-emergency number for the police here in town of Mount Pleasant. And I told them what was going on, that I smelled smoke. Could they please call somebody to come? And I received very interesting information from them. They told me that they have a new protocol. If we call to say that there's smoke and we believe it's coming from there, they're not going to send the fire department. They're going to send the highway department first, which I understand that would be an easy answer to, not an easy answer, but I understand why they might think that. But what happens if it
When
is
was this?
next?
When was this?
This was on Wednesday,
Last Wednesday.
Yeah,
this
I-
past
you know,
Wednesday.
Sorry, Saturday as well. My brother-in-law got the exact same message when he called.
Yeah. They're telling us that they're not going to send the fire trucks. They're
This new
telling us-
protocol is unbeknownst to me. I've raised this internally 10 days ago. I think it's a terrible idea, and I'm going to publicly say that to you.
Thank you.
I think that this is a known documented fire risk on that site. I think that 2 years ago, there was a major 17-alarm fire.
Yeah.
I do not think it's a good idea that our fire department our highway department is acting in
Right.
terms of being a first responder. I think they're very qualified to move the material and
Right.
handle the smoldering, but if this is next to me and I own a house, right?
Yeah.
And I call the authorities, I don't want the highway department dispatch, I want the fire department dispatch, right? If I call
Exactly.
for a violent individual, I don't want a social worker dispatch, I want the police dispatch. Like, I hear you, and I cannot believe this, because I thought that this was an internal sort of policy for the clubs up there, but the fact that we're telling residents this is absolutely absurd to me. And I don't know what else to say, I apologize.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
half
if
the
I call
time
Con
they
Ed
don't
for a
even-
gas leak,
Right.
they're gonna send the fire department out of an abundance of caution,
Correct.
right? Yes, Con Ed's gonna come and they're gonna look at the situation and assess it and say what to do, but the fire department's there out of an abundance of caution. How we are not sending the fire department out of abundance of caution is absolutely absurd.
And also, we have to think about the health of the highway department workers. If they're going up there and there's all that smoke going on, I mean, I don't live, my property does not abut this. My property is 5 houses down. And, you know, the properties there are not, I cannot see my neighbors. So we're not talking that I'm right there, but I smell it every time it burns. And, you know, do you remember what Wednesday and Friday were? They were high days of bad air quality. High bad air quality days. And then you're adding this to it. We have a lot of people in our community, and I just, you know, we need to have some kind of resolution. And I know that you said, oh, this has been going on for years. You know, this has been since the 50s. This was a mulch site. That may have been the case, but this has got to be addressed now. And it is in a residential area. It really should be. I don't know what options there are, but the town must have another option for dumping mulch and creating another. I mean, it really has to, there has to be a resolution.
What exactly were you
The
told?
one resolution I will give you is that will not happen, again, with the police department. That will change tonight.
Yeah, please, my home is directly next to this. If my house is on fire and my neighbor calls, what are you gonna send Rich just because you don't wanna be, you're not sure? This is not okay.
No, I disagree with that. I agree that that's gonna change.
But why did this, you're saying that this was a discussion, why was this okayed? Who okayed this?
This was
wasn't
never
even-
discussed with, this is the
Oh,
first
I
I've
didn't
heard of
know
it.
about
How did you hear about it and they didn't hear about it?
You heard it from a resident?
I heard it from somebody that's associated with a club at the site, and I escalated it.
And, I'm sorry, and did you tell the board about it?
I did.
So,
And
I'm
Rich
sorry,
responded to that, or he
and you
didn't?
didn't hear about it?
It's the first time I heard of it.
This
There's
sounds,
an email to the board?
I'm calling absolute bullshit on this.
I'm sorry, I was away last week, so I might have missed that, but I didn't know anything about it. But I guarantee you, as of tonight, it'll change.
So I'd like to point out that one of the board members alerted the board about this. You all knew about this, and you
That's not true.
okayed it.
That's not true.
It is true. Mark, what did you just say? I'm tired of letting you guys like
I could only tell
change
you
your
what I
words in the
said.
middle of meetings. It's unethical. You just said that they knew. You're saying you didn't know. What happened?
I asked that if this was a policy, that it be immediately rescinded
And?
in the essence of public safety and liability for the town.
And? You didn't hear it when he said that? You weren't there? You weren't there?
It
You
was a
weren't there?
policy that
I
who,
wasn't, no,
that
I was,
who-
like I said, I was away. I didn't get that message.
Okay, you were on
That was a
vacation.
text or that was?
Email.
The other 5 people sitting here, you didn't hear him say that? You didn't hear how important that was? This is my home. We touch
We didn't hear-
property
Oh,
lines.
we're talking about an email, right?
Yeah,
Not a phone call?
no, it was an email, and I thought Rich
Who
was
was it
on
sent
it.
to?
Yeah, Rich was on it, yeah.
And I don't think he ever responded.
This is absolutely unacceptable that you let this slide. And it's gotten this far. You've let all of this get this far.
The highway department was up there, I explained before, and.
But you're in charge and you let this go.
I let what go?
Are you kidding me?
Are you saying I'm responsible because we had illegal dumping up there?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I
I'm not.
am. I'm
Somebody
saying that
is
you are
responsible,
responsible because you didn't know what was going on for 20 years.
No, it's
For,
not.
for,
We're not
for
calling
2
it 20
years.
We haven't had these problems for 20 years, believe me.
The woman I bought the house from said that she was having problems and she was,
Anytime she had a problem with anything, she was taken care of too. I'm aware of it. road work, anything she needed, she was taken care of.
That's why we're here, is because of the neglect of the road. That's what led us to find your problems that you've ignored. This isn't my job, this is your
Okay,
job.
You have your opinion, okay? I don't believe.
This isn't my opinion, this is a fact. These are all facts.
Yeah.
None of this is opinion.
We just would like to feel safe in our homes, and
I
just like
I will
everyone
correct
else.
the problem with the police department tonight, okay?
Because we also, I don't know if you realize this, but if I call 911 and I give them my proper address, they can't find my house because the address has been changed by the town over
What's
the
your
years.
address again?
491 Old Chappaqua Road. One side of the road is old, the other side is Chappaqua Road. So Google does not say that we exist anymore.
I'm
And-
sorry again for your,
I appreciate that.
Does the post
So-
office deliver to you?
They do, yeah, but emergency services don't all know. So, like ambulance doesn't know.
Thank you.
He responded to all of us. That I don't know, but that was part of it.
Okay. Good evening, Town Board. I'm Deborah Gargiulo. I live on Chappaqua Road. I'm not going to address the fires because the ladies will take care of that for me. So I've spoken before this board multiple times over the past year regarding what has been described as a mulch operation on town-owned property adjacent to our residential neighborhood. I am tired. I'm tired of having to come up here week after week and get nothing in return from this town on such a serious matter to the community. Tonight I want to talk about accountability again, not personalities, accountability, because what occurred on this site affects every resident in this community. Frankly, if we have a town government willing to minimize issues involving legality, environmental compliance, contamination, public safety, and transparency, then residents through Mount Pleasant should be concerned. Where else is this happening? Originally, we came before this board to discuss a road damaged by years of truck traffic, a road that was the town repeatedly claimed it wasn't responsible for. And now we found out through documents that the town did adopt the road. What should have been a simple road conversation became something so much bigger. Residents became investigators and researchers. We became the record keepers and the fact finders. Come on, guys, what are you doing? I never imagined residents would have to learn environmental law, wetlands law, solid waste regulations, FOIL procedures, and educate themselves on contamination just to simply understand what's happening on town property. The town continues to describe this property differently depending on the audience. At various times, we've heard it described as a mulch operation, an organic recycling operation, a storage area, a commercial operation, and more recently, that it may somehow be exempt from permitting requirements. So let's discuss what really happened. The town's consultant documented that by 1994, stockpiles of lumbers and wood chips were visible on the site of Clayborough Lane, where the mulching operation exists today. But that is not the area that residents are talking about. The area currently under investigation is located on the east side of Clayborough Lane, immediately adjacent to residential areas. According to the consultant's review of historical aerial photographs, the area was cleared around 2007. I moved in 2001, and it was used for parking of vehicles. By 18, only small piles of wood chips and dirt were visible. By 22, it was cleared again, and by 24, mulching equipment appeared on the east side in question. So who authorized the transformation of what was described as a parking area into creating a berm, importing soil, stockpiles, processing equipment immediately adjacent to residential homes? Were there approvals or permits, environmental reviews? Where is the documentation? The burden is not on the residents to prove that this activity was authorized. The burden is on the town to produce the record showing that it was. The town's consultant also documented something far more disturbing: lead. Not speculation, not rumor, not resident opinion, lead. The town's consultant found lead concentrations of 854 parts per million adjacent to residential property and wetlands, which again is significantly over New York State DEC allowable standards. That same report concluded that it was not suitable for beneficial reuse and should be disposed of at a licensed facility. Think about what that means. This is not an industrial site. It's not a landfill. It's a residential neighborhood. Families live here, pets are here, wildlife is here, and residents rely on private wells. When lead is found at these levels, the question is not what's in the soil today. The question is, where does it go tomorrow? Through dust, through runoff, through erosion, and through disturbance. Lead is not a nuisance issue. It's a toxic contaminant that can impact human health, especially in children, and through exposure and contaminated soil, dust, and runoff. That is why environmental regulations exist. And that's why residents became alarmed when the town seemed to be more interested in minimizing concerns than addressing them. At the last meeting when these issues were discussed, the supervisor's response was, "Oh God." Respectfully, contamination concerns in a residential neighborhood deserve more than dismissal. We will not accept the statement that this is town land and you can do what you want with it. Residents are not the problem. We did not bring the materials to the site. We did not authorize the operations on town property. We did not construct the berm. We did not create these conditions. The town and the people operating on the town did. We're simply asking questions that should have been answered long ago. And at the last meeting, we established that communication was critical. Since then, residents have received no communication. No update regarding New York State DEC, no update regarding cleanup, remediation, timelines, no answers to questions repeated in other meetings. And if there's no plan, then tell us there's no plan. If the investigation is ongoing, then tell us it's ongoing. I'm going to continue. But silence is not communication. Residents also learned that there are multiple sources of imported material discussed by town officials. Soil that was brought in from Carroll Park and also from a golf course area. These are two separate material streams. They should each have documentation, laboratory reports, sampling records, and chain of custody records. And where did this material go besides the creation of the berm? Where did it get distributed? Because calling material clean and proving material clean are two different things. And while the town continues to discuss exemptions, residents should know what New York State DEC actually said. It said neither the town nor Amodios has authorization to import fill material on site to be processed, and that permits or registrations are required depending on the type of material. I'd also like to discuss the town wetlands code, and I don't know what changed tonight. Chapter 111 of the town's code prohibits the deposit of material within 50 feet of a wetland body or watercourse located in wetlands control district. That berm is within 5 feet of that vernal pool. The same code regulates grading, filling, and other activities near those resources and requires review and approvals. So before the berm was constructed, before the material was deposited, before the stockpiles were created, did the town determine if this area was subject to its own wetlands protections? Was an application filed? Was the town engineer consulted? Was the planning board approval obtained? And if these reviews were performed, where is the records? I'm sorry, I'm going to continue. And then there's the issue of tax. I probably have about two more. Does anybody else want to hear what I have to say?
Make a motion to let her speak.
Thank you. Then there's the taxpayer accountability. In the last meeting, we were told this operation may have saved the town $50,000 to $75,000 per week. If that's true, that equates to roughly $2.6 to $3.9 million annually. Those are extraordinary numbers.
That's not accurate.
You did
I
say.
said in a week's time, it could have been. They're your numbers. In a week's time, it could be, if they were there for a week, it'd be between $50,000 and $75,000, not every single week.
Okay.
You misunderstood me.
Okay. So I stand corrected on that one, but it still doesn't, just that line.
Well, we're not done with the rest of them, but you continue.
Okay. So then where is the analysis, the study, or the documentation? So then to prove your point, because if this arrangement was truly worth, whatever it's worth, millions of dollars or less, and there was no formal contract, there's no lease or competitive process, no documents or revenue sharing, we're repeatedly told that this was a handshake deal. Handshake deals are for neighbors. This is not how public assets are supposed to be managed. So tonight, I'd like to ask each member of this board, Councilwoman Zaino, Councilman Saraceno, Councilman Bonanno, Councilman Siciliano, and Supervisor Fulgenzi, If this operation, fires, contamination, and these unanswered questions were behind your home with your family, would you be satisfied with these answers so far? Would this be acceptable? Because residents don't think it is. The town's response to this reminds me of a bad boyfriend who got caught red-handed. Instead of saying I was wrong, he blames his friends. Then he blames circumstances. Then he blames the person who discovered it. Then he says everyone is overreacting. Then he hopes enough time passes for everyone to forget. But that's not accountability. Accountability is admitting what happened, explaining how it happened, and fixing it. That's what the residents have been asking for. This board has a choice. Continue blaming the contractors, the regulators, and the residents, or take responsibility. And for the 4 councilmen and councilwomen here, please lead by example. Because every day without answers creates more questions. Every week without communication destroys more trust. Every month without accountability makes this issue larger, not smaller, when we're not going to go away. So please tell the truth, share the records, follow the law. Remove the contamination safely, protect this neighborhood, and please start treating the residents as partners and not obstacles. Now I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Gargiulo.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Convisor. I live in Sleepy Hollow. This is my first time on this reality TV show. Hope you'll go okay. I'm used to the Sleepy Hollow reality show, but anyway. So I saw the email that and the posting that the supervisor put out regarding the new immigration laws passed at the state level. I was concerned how the tone of it implied things that were in the state law that aren't actually in the state law, and that the town is, trying to be bold and act outside the state law. I mean, it didn't say those words, but it implied, just the way it was worded, that the governor didn't care about public safety, and the legislature didn't, and I find that very disappointing. The state law, now as it was just adopted, sets up a situation where it actually increases safety, because then people who are here without documentation can come forward to the police, to the fire department, and report problems. They can be witnesses in trials that you want to put away criminals. So when people do bad things, people who are not here with documentation can come forward and feel safe to do so. Because if we were operating under other procedures, they'll be too scared to come forward because they don't want to get in trouble, they don't want to get deported. So the new legislation actually increases public safety. So I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was easier
You
online.
like that little feature.
I do.
It's nice.
It's very nice. I can read my own handwriting or typing. It's much easier. So Nancy Rogers Gallaudet, 816 Sleepy Hollow Road, Town of Mount Pleasant, Briarcliff. And, also thank you again for having this section on the, speaking from the floor. I think it's great. I wish it would be incorporated into the planning board, although that might be a little more lengthy, I suppose. Maybe that would be a problem. So I actually wanted to commend you for, taking action to codify the steep slope and wetlands outlined in the Envision Plan. So terrific. Glad to see that's happening. I had a couple questions or thoughts about the code changes, which is, maybe part of the public hearing. So, forgive me, I'm just going to say some of them here, but I'll bring them up there as well. But I'd love some feedback on it. And actually the application when it's formally approved. So I had done a little research on this. You must think I'm, spend a lot of time with town codes. But we had talked about it a while ago, as you might recall, Carl. And so I got kind of interested in it and researched, did some, background and comparisons across actually 7 other towns and villages. I don't know what I was thinking. It was quite interesting, actually, though. And I went back to it this evening or yesterday and took a look at it. And I'll be interested to see the changes that, you know, are reflected and how they compare with the towns. And I'm sure you've done some of that, obviously. In addition to the actual wetlands, buffer, and steep slope definitions, there were two other areas that popped out in the research. And my interviews, I actually interviewed several of the town board members or the planning board members or the code people who had adopted those changes, because they're very different. Some of them are quite convoluted, particularly Greenberg's, as I recall. Very, very convoluted kind of thing. I'm just going to put this down. So they had, almost all the villages had adopted a specific code separate from the actual definitions of the steep slopes and wetlands, and it was called two different things in their codes. One was called the buildable area, which we've come across with the cluster subdivision code, and I'll talk about that in a minute, or the net lot area. So I don't know if the code you're doing is going to include a separate code, or that's maybe potentially comes later. But they clearly articulate, the whole soul of that particular code is to articulate that the steep slopes and wetland defined areas be deducted from the lot to determine the buildable acreage. And I'm sure that that's in your code, but these towns had done a separate one just to make sure that it was clear that there are steep slope definitions that can change, right? Because that's adaptable. But regardless of what the definition is, they will always be deducted into this what's called buildable acre. So it becomes kind of common nomenclature. I thought that was a great thing. And now that I've been part of the 715, cluster division, where that is incorporated actually into that town code, made much more sense to me when I went back to these notes. Ossining was the most simple. I may go a little over because I'm reading this, because it says the town of Ossining requires that the steep slope and wetland ordinances be followed on any lot when there is a proposed building on the lot. When that is taken into consideration, it would determine that area of the lot that is buildable. So it's really clean. The rest are a little bit wordy. That was pretty simple. So I think it would be a great idea, maybe in another code change, to maybe consider that, as this thing goes on. Definitely this concept of grandfathering of the change code, especially for the deduction. Obviously that's a little bit why Greenberg got kind of hairy, because they got a lot of pushback, which I'm sure you'll anticipate, but there's a lot of pushback on grandfathering and even the code in general. They really seem to have gone through quite a lot of hell with their code change there. But making that clear is absolutely essential, so there's no ambiguity and doesn't result in a barrage of permit exceptions. And I've seen a lot of permit exceptions by sitting in on many of these planning board meetings, and particularly steep slopes seem to get a lot of exemptions from the steep slope application process, and it's kind of heartbreaking. Some of them are really, I've sat in one where they had run out of well water because there were too many houses on these steep slopes. It was some little, I think it was in Hardscrabble Lane, I don't remember, but they were pushing to do another house, and it was kind of stupid, honestly, that they approved that, because they literally have a tower or something to bring in their water. So it was kind of dumb to consider building another house, but it was done. It was done. So these exemptions are something that I hope will be, become under control by this, clear articulation and maybe this buildable acreage code. We already have that, as I said, in the cluster already have that in the cluster subdivision code. You've referenced the New York State code, which actually says deduct these environmental features, steep slope wetlands, from the parcel before you determine the number of houses. That hasn't happened with 715, and I hope it's happening with Cedar Knolls, because it's probably very similar. So that leads me to my last thought, and that's the absolute need for the town planning board and building departments and any other departments or employees in the town that the new codes are enforced, okay? There's too many exemptions, in my opinion. I'd asked, when I was researching this, the permit person, I don't remember his name, but I said, I'd really like to know over the last 2 years, whatever is reasonable, how many applications have been made and how many have been approved for these exemptions. I never got it. I didn't really pursue it that hard, but I think it would be a really interesting fact for the town board to know. So you could have a baseline and then also see if that's improved, you know, with the fact that these codes have changed. A lot of time and money is being wasted by these exemptions. I happened to be in the planning board meeting about a month ago. Somebody was up there trying to build in the buffer, and they had been there twice or maybe 3 times. And a conversation went on, I kid you not, for 45 minutes. I thought I was going to shoot myself. We were there to hear the development property for the Rockefeller, or not the Rockefeller, but the golf course. And, you know, I was a little bit impatient because it was at the end of the evening. 45 minutes we stayed there. And so finally I got up, which was, you know, kind of silly because I wasn't really prepared, but just said, you have a code. Just say no. Just say no. You can't go in the 50-foot line. And you know another code's coming, say no. And they did ultimately say no, I read in the minutes, but I thought it was really crazy. Why entertain that for 45 minutes? This guy had gone through numerous, I guess, revisions to his plan. It was just silly. Just say no, you know, enforce the code. So I think that's got to be really, you know, reinforced. I hope you'll reinforce it with all the departments in the tent. They've got a really good weapon here, that they don't have to, you know, feel like they're doing something, an injustice to somebody. They just say, well, that's the code, you know, that's what I'm paid to do here, or not paid, but, you know, that's what I'm supposed to be spending my time on. So that's really what I wanted, you know, that when we have these codes that, you know, they're empowered. They feel empowered to have the courage and, you know, be decisive and upload these codes once they're approved. But thank you again for taking that step, and looking forward to participating in the public hearing. It's fast. It's only like a week away, is it? Okay.
2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Board, Dennis McCarthy again. First off, I want to thank, I guess, you and Lenny for correcting this. It sounds much better. I know something had to be installed, and the back feed and everything is much better, so thank you. I also just wanted to, you know, just capture some of what has been stated for this property in Briarcliff, Clay Lane. That's kind of a small example of kind of what happens with departments or department people, not necessarily department heads, but, you know, the subjugated departments make decisions that necessarily aren't the decisions that come through, you know, the town supervisor or the council. And just for everyone's benefit, the council, they're kind of part-time. They're not in the town here, so to their, you know, benefit, you know, they want to know as much as possible, but they don't hear everything. So I just wanted to use that as a small example in regarding to this law with the Architecture Review Board, that things like that happen with, you know, departments, department heads, or people within departments, and that should seriously be considered as well. But I also want to commend that the steep slope and the wetlands waterfront hearings are coming up. And I was upset about this, as I expressed before, but I appreciate you guys listened. It's better late than never, and it's really important. It's important for the town. So I and the people on my committee and a lot of residents expressed the same to me, so I want to express that to you. However, my big thing again is process. What will be the process for this? And you know, that's basically a big question that I have. How is it going to be like tonight, that you have something written up and it's going to be voted upon? You know, I don't think that should be the process for something as big as this. And I want to reemphasize what Nancy said in regards to, you know, the area that's being considered up in 226, 228 Linda Avenue. It shouldn't be, you know, acknowledged, and I'll share that when the public hearing comes forward. But I also want to emphasize tree preservation. You know, you can't do these two without doing the tree preservation. So I seriously hope you guys are looking at tree preservation very soon. I know the Conservation Advisory Committee shared information, and I think that's one of the three. It's like the Trinity. You can't do one without the other. So the process is really important. You know, my hope is that, you have the chairpersons of the committees, advisory, zoning, planning, you have some public input, and Council, Supervisor Fulgenzi, you mentioned this before, that when you used to be a councilman and then Bob Meehan came in and that you were considering being run and he asked you to come aboard. So I would just, impress that if you want me or anyone that has come up here to express their sentiment, it makes the most sense that if we're part of it, we can't really critique it. We're going to be on board, So, I offer my services to help and assist in any way that's possible. So the other thing is to please consider the moratorium. And Supervisor Fulgenzi, you mentioned this also in your interview, that you didn't know whether it was necessary to have a moratorium. And again, it all comes down to process. With the town board, the planning board, there's statutory laws that go with them. You have to do due process. And my big thing was to make sure that the taxpayers, the residents, had a huge voice, with these updated zones and codes that need to be done. But the same applies for, a developer or a landowner. If they're selling something, they are entitled to due process as well. And, I don't want the town being issued a lawsuit, unnecessary legal, defense, if it's unnecessary. So in order to do the process that we need to do, we should create a moratorium on those issues, just on those issues. They can go forth on other issues, but those issues should be a moratorium. So I really want the town board to consider that. And the other thing is grants that you're applying for. I have one here that, unfortunately it's due by June 26th. It's the Resilient Watersheds Grant. And it addresses a lot of things that, Supervisor, you mentioned also in regards to the Brady, the wetlands that was eliminated. And we should be reaching out to Legislator Kunzio. We should be reaching out to Mary Jane Shimske. And our Senator Andrea Stewart Cousins, because the state created this problem, and it's been documented that they created this problem. And then the railroad created part of this problem. So we have a substantial, issue that the state, the county should be helping us with. And yes, it's complicated, I know, but we should, it probably costs $12 million, like you said. However, this Watershed Resilient Grant deals with floodplain restoration, creation, reconnections, wetland creation and restoration. It also creates berm removal. Really? I mean, really? I mean, the place isn't packed. So stream culvert replacement, right sizing. I mean, I hope that if we haven't applied for this, that we can apply for it. Culverts,
We are applying for that.
Okay, excellent.
Can I take that copy?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I brought a few. So yeah, again, thank you, and I appreciate the efforts, and keep going. All right.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Dennis.
Chris, if that goes off, shut it off, right?
Okay.
Just-
I just want to make sure
just
everybody's
alert-
here because they don't.
Alert the
seem to
time
be
frame, and that's
listening
it,
or
and I'm not gonna,
paying attention to
that's
it.
annoying to have it keep going on.
Jim Russell from Hawthorne. I'll be brief. Since the topic of immigration came up, I'd like to suggest that the town look into Section 287G of the Immigration and Naturalization Act that allows local areas such as this town to cooperate more fully with the Department of Homeland Security in the processing of persons who are apprehended, and find out their citizenship status, and refer them to the proper authorities.
Isn't that what your
Thank you.
post said? Isn't that what your post said?
Thank you for allowing me to read a statement before. Now I just have a question. This is not about the fires, but this is about the berm and the contamination. Can you please tell us when those removal processes will start? Like, when are you going to be done speaking with the DEC, and when will the fill come off the site? Because every day that it's there and every day that there is a fire or heavy rainstorm, that sediment is coming down the road, down our blocks, in our lawns, in our houses. So can you just kind of give us an idea of when are we going to start seeing some remediation?
We wish we could give a specific date. Unfortunately, and I know it's hard for people to understand this, but it's been very difficult. You may think that we've been ignoring this, but it's not been ignored. Every day we're dealing with this situation with Amodio, whatever the company's name is, the DEC. We asked them to give us some guidelines. What's the process you think we should follow? Well, we really can't give you exact guidelines. I don't know what they're for, these people. You know, they're telling us we have to do something with it, but they won't tell us how to do it. They could tell us it has to go to some of it has to go to a restricted site. We want Amodio to go in there and remove all his materials, period. That's what we want. Now we're in litigation, unfortunately. We just started that. We haven't been able to get correspondence from them. They don't answer things. The attorney's been going back and forth on this for weeks, and it's frustrating because I think you all believe we're just ignoring it, which is not the case.
Well, we asked for communication. If you communicated like that to us, especially the ones that, like you're doing right now, especially the ones that are directly impacted, as I mentioned before, that would go a really long way. Because from where we're sitting, it looks like nothing's being done, right? Because we don't see that anything's being done. We see a lot of, you know, the highways go up there to turn the mulch, or we see a lot of the police or the fire department go up, but we don't know what's happening with the berm. You know, we saw that, okay, there's some tarp, but there's no silt fencing. You know, like, I don't want to be sitting here in a year from now. This already has taken a year from where it started, again, a road, but all the way to now, to where we are now. I don't want to be up here in another year. We don't want to have contamination in our neighborhood.
We don't,
right.
believe me, we don't either.
So I mean, do you at least have an indication? Is it like we have to deal with the entire lawsuit first before something like this is removed? Or is the town going to be operating and still trying to get the contaminants out of a residential neighborhood? You know, like a lawsuit could take forever. I don't want to have to be dealing with this.
It may come down to the fact that we have to remove everything and sue them to get our money back. I'd hate to have to do that, but we may be at that point.
I've been advocating to have an injunction from the court. Chris, you could probably weigh in on that a little bit, to have a temporary restraining order, what's known as a TRO, to have a judge come in and decide and say, hey, like, this either has to happen or is not going to happen, to have the contractor remove it. I believe we're finally taking that step tonight with our vote. That would be much faster than a lawsuit, I assume. Chris, can you?
Our office isn't going to comment on
Yeah, it's an
legal
active case
strategy
now.
that we're going to employ or potentially employ. If the board wants to go into executive session.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
And
just
so I
trying to
think-
be transparent with you, but that doesn't work here, so sorry.
So I think also too, the berm, DEC is still, we still really don't have clear direction. We thought it was, okay, you can bring it to this type of facility, and then we just got an email, was that today or yesterday? Now they want to do additional testing on the berm. So we have to wait for them to do that, get that back, and then they can tell us where to bring that material. The other material that Amodio brought in from the golf course, again, as the supervisor said, they brought it in. We would like them to take it out. But unfortunately, you know, with this lawsuit, I personally, and we've been advised, there's not much now we can say because it's a lawsuit. But I understand your frustration, and I know it's been a long process. Some of it's been out of our hands. I think that we all want to see it get removed as quickly as possible. So as Carl said, if we remove it and then try and recoup, if that's the strategy that we're advised to do.
Okay.
Chris, what can we do to improve the communications? I get it, you know, there's a lawsuit, but you know what? What are some of the things we can do to help these people and let them know kind of, you know, what they can expect? How do we thread the needle on this?
I don't want to communicate improper information either. If I have facts from DEC and they say, okay, this is what you have to do with this berm material, this is what you have to do with Amodio's material. That's facts that I can share. But when now they're telling us they're gonna come and do another test. Now we have to wait for that result to find out what we do with the berm material. Once they tell us, okay, this is what the test results show, this is where that material can go, let's get rid of it.
Right, but we
Period.
shouldn't have to wait every 2 weeks to be in a town meeting, to read a statement, which we never get answers, which are usually during the statement, but then to come up again to hear that. Like, we should at least have at the very minimum, you know, DEC's testing, or we don't have an answer yet, or, you know, thank you for your patience, or how about, I'm really sorry.
I mean, I have to be very honest. I feel like you get a lot of responses, now some of your emails I'm not gonna respond to because it's more the environmental end of it, so David responds to it, right? So I'm not gonna respond to certain ones that, I'm not gonna speak out of turn. But between Carl and David and I believe Darius a few times, a lot of your emails do get responses. Now, if you ask a question that we don't have an answer to, yes, you should get a response on that to say, hey, Deborah, sorry, still waiting to hear from DEC. But you do get a lot of responses.
Not all of them. a lot of
I
them.
said not all of them,
Yeah.
but you do get a lot of responses.
All right, well, hopefully we'll hear some more soon, right?
Yes.
Anyone else wish to address the board?
Yeah, actually, why is it up to us to have to ask?
Come on up, please.
If you're well aware of the situation and you're as sick of this as we are, why do we have to be the ones to follow up all the time? Why can't you just reach out and let us know, hey, we spoke to the DEC, like,
We are
be
following.
on our side? That's
We are.
all we've been asking
Do
for.
you think that we like this, what's going on there?
Do you think that we like this? That's what I'm
I
asking
asked you a
you.
question.
And
Do you think that we
you
like
haven't
it?
answered my question yet. My question was, why do we have to be the ones to reach out to you?
Do
If
you
you're
think that
getting
we're not-
information, I'm still
You
speaking.
don't
If
think
you're
we're
getting,
doing anything?
if you're getting information from the DEC, why don't you relay it to us so that we don't have to chase you? That's the question.
If I have legitimate information I could share, I will share it. But when somebody's sharing another question with me from DEC or attorneys, I'm not sharing that. I want facts that I can share. I want to be able to say, this is exactly what we're going to do with this material. I want to know that, and I want to get it done. Believe me, we all do. We don't want this. We don't want it to affect your lives or affect anybody else's lives.
you.
Unfortunately, I don't think you believe that, but it is very true.
This is the first time you've ever spoken to me like a human being, honestly, and so thank you, yes. It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. You know, I've sent you emails that you have completely ignored. You haven't responded to me at all. I've come up here and you make comments about my face. You know, like this
What?
is a
What
bigger
did I do?
issue.
What did I do?
Go back and watch the tapes. Anyway, this
No,
is
you're
the first
accusing me of
time you've
something I'd
ever
like
been
to know.
kind.
Don't
And
make up things.
I'm not making anything up, sir. I had people in town reach out to me, say they want to make T-shirts over it because you were talking about my face, and it was rude and it was uncalled for. And
No idea what you're talking about.
of course you don't, because that's what you say every time. I was just in the middle of complimenting you.
No,
I take it all back.
That's fine.
it all back.
So is the bottleneck the DEC that we know of,
For the burn material?
just for all of this? Are we waiting on them?
Definitely for the
Can
burn
we-
material.
Maybe my suggestion would be tomorrow, and I'm happy to do it, we reach out to the commissioner of the DEC and say that this is unacceptable, that this has been going on for 3 months. In fact, longer than that, because I reached out to the DEC in September. So maybe I reach out to the commissioner tomorrow. And if she doesn't answer me, I'll reach out to the governor's office and say, your DEC is not answering us. Because 3 months, I agree, is 1,000% unacceptable. And if that's the bottleneck, I'll address it tomorrow. In fact, I'll begin tonight.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Move on to our town clerk's report. Emily?
Town Clerk's Report, Town Board Meeting, June 9th, 2026. Public hearing to consider a local law amending Town Code Chapter 14, Article 1, Advisory Board on Architectural and Community Appearance. Received and filed new house number for 2 Halsey Place, formerly 230 Westlake Drive. Received and filed 2 interagency public notices from the Village of Briarcliff Manor for notice of intent to determine SECR lead agency for the Rockefeller House, and Town of Greenberg notice of public hearing to consider a zoning map amendment. Received and filed the Teamsters stipulation of agreement dated May 14th, 2026, and 3 zoning board resolutions for Swick at 80 Madison Avenue, Batista 30 Greenwood Lane, and Shoe at 1 Tamarack, or 11 Tamarack Way.
Thank you. Moving on to council reports. Councilwoman Zeno.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, fellow board members, residents at home. My first item comes from David Smith, our town engineer. This is Resolution 217-26. This is authorization to publish request for proposals for generator maintenance, water and sewer department. This contract will deliver the required annual maintenance for each unit. Excuse me. These generators provide essential power backup services to the pump and water treatment delivery systems. Estimated contract cost for the full year of recommended service is $16,737. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
I move for approval.
second by Joe.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. My next item comes from Rich Banquets, Highway Superintendent. This is Resolution 218-26, authorization to discard and remove HD 35 and HD 61 from vehicle inventory. He is requesting authorization to discard and remove the 2004 F-350 pickup truck from vehicle inventory as the transfer case is blown and the cab has extensive rot. Additionally, they are requesting authorization to remove the 2008 Ford Crown Vic. From inventory as this rear suspension that mounts to the frame and front lower controlling arm mounting locations are rotting. Once approved, both vehicles will be picked up for scrap and removed from our town insurance policy. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by
Tom.
Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And my last resolution, 219-26, from Rich Banquet, Highway Superintendent. Authorization is requested to accept the performance bond for site work at 15 Vista Court in Pleasantville, street opening permit 6462, in the amount of $25,800. I move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
Joe.
Joe.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I have. Have a good evening.
Councilman Banano.
Good evening, Supervisor, residents, and fellow board members. I'm going to read from the Controller's memo dated 6/9/26. Again, I'm going to read the key items in the Controller's memo. The entire Controller's memo will be available at the Controller's office during normal business hours. From licensing and permits to 104 Westlake Partners LLC, $19,239. That's a refund of permit fees. This next 2 items are covered by a Department of Justice grant to improve the communications within the police department. There's a from Goosetown Communications. There's $39,764.50 to purchase 15 pyramid repeaters. There's also $325,853 to purchase an Avtech 3 console, which is a piece of communication equipment. Again, all of these are covered under a Department of Justice grant to improve the communications for the police department throughout the town and the county. Next, from the Mount Pleasant Sewer District, Aquaworks, $71,600, and that's emergency sewer repair main in the Rockefeller Estates. We had to replace a collapsed sewer main. The total controller's memo for 6/9/26 is $497,604.66. I move for approval of the controller's memo.
Motion by Joe,
Second. Sorry, Tom.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
What I have next is Resolution 22126, and the resolution is to approve the Beacon Bank as a new official depository. The reason we are moving to the Beacon Bank is they are going to treat us as a preferred valued customer, and we will get 3.5% interest on the money that we leave on deposit at the Beacon Bank. So I make a motion that we authorize the designation of a new bank depository.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilman Saraceno.
Thank you. I have one item this evening. It's resolution number 222-26 out of the Recreation Department. This is for the Action Squad camp trip to Six Flags, New Jersey. And admission tickets, comp tickets, single meal tickets totaling, and parking totaling $2,733.30. With that, I move for approval.
Motion by Mark,
I second.
second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilman Saliano.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My report is from the Police Department. We have two items for you for this evening. The first item from PD is Resolution 223-26. This is authorization to discard and remove speed trailer 1 from the vehicle inventory. And this is from Traffic and Safety from Corey Antonecchia. The trailer was discontinued by the manufacturer 7 years ago. Parts and service are no longer available. The trailer is not currently working at this time. I'm recommending that this piece of equipment be removed from the town's inventory and disposed of. When approved, the trailer will be removed from the town's insurance policy. I move for approval to discard this speed trailer, please.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so much. The second item, Mr. Supervisor, is authorization to extend a conditional offer of employment to a police officer candidate. We have several police officers retiring, and it's important we fill these positions. I spoke to the chief today. We also have a memo. There's a vacancy created by an impending retirement. The command staff has been working to screen candidates from the resident civil service list for police officer. The police academy will start July 2026. One candidate has been selected and has passed the background screening. In order to complete the process, I would respectively request authorization to offer conditional employment to this candidate. At this time, we're going to keep the candidate's name confidential until he passes his psychological and his medical. That's standard procedure. But this is conditional employment based on the candidate passing the medical and the psychological. So I move for approval to offer conditional employment to this police officer candidate.
Motion by Tom,
Second by Joe.
second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I thank you. Have a very good evening. Thank you.
Town Attorney, I do not believe we have anything.
Nothing at this time.
Schedule of meetings, next work session, Tuesday, June 16th at 7 p.m. Business session, Tuesday, June 23rd at 7 p.m. There be no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Is that Tom?
Yes, sir.
And I'll second that.
Second by Joe. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.